Welcome. This is an actual play of a role-playing game. All the participants are adults. The content is intended for adult viewers. We strive to keep the content PG to PG-13, but it is a horror story and may contain horror themes. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy. Well, howdy, friends and floorheads. It is Saturday afternoon and time to play yet another game from Free League. As many of you know, we have a long-going Forbidden Lands game going. I have played the Aliens game. I have been wanting to play Vaesen for a very long time. And we have got some veteran players here to play it. So we're going to do a quick introduction. Vasilev, it's good to see you again.
Hello, hello.
Where might people know you from?
People might know me first from the Star Wars session, which we did in this nice gentleman group, or maybe from the game called Blades in the Dark. That might be or not next week, actually. And the last one, what's it called? The space opera horror called Mothership, I believe.
Mothership, the most popular actual play on our channel.
Oh, yeah. All of them great games, and I'm expecting nothing less from this one.
No pressure. Right. Roman, welcome back, my friend. Where might people know you from?
Well, aside from Steam Powered Scoundrels, the podcast I help host, apart from here, they would know me from a couple of the old Malifaux deep dives and roundtables. They would know me on here from the same Star Wars Fistful of Credits as the rest of us here, Blades in the Dark, and I don't know, I might be actually standing right behind you at any given moment.
And everybody knows Nick Westbrook. Nick, welcome back.
Hello, hello.
Nick, where may people know you from?
Oh God, everything but maybe 3 different streams that you put on. You know, some might know me as a child actor from Heavyweights. I don't know.
And last but not least, Robert. It's good to see you, Robert. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Where do people know you from?
Yeah, folks know me from my own podcast, Game Store Dropouts, which Craig and Roman and Nick have actually all been guests on before. Vaslav, we need to get you on at some point. We also would probably know me from Fistful of Credits, of course, with this great group. And also a lot of Malifaux deep dives, roundtables on the Tabletop Talk, as well as, I think, one of the most fun I ever had on your show, Craig, was The Zone. It was just an absolute
that was fun. That was fun. All right. I think we should start playing. Enough chit-chat. I want to start by welcoming you to a late 19th century mythic Britain that never really was. London is the heart of a thriving empire ruled by Queen Victoria. Railway lines radiate out from the capital, connecting to the nation's other great cities and carrying people and goods to all parts of the country. Between the cities, the countryside remains much as it has since the Middle Ages. It's ruled by the twin forces of tradition and superstition. Every year, more people move from the countryside to the cities in search of factory jobs and a better life. Some of their supernatural neighbors have moved with them, sometimes lending their aid against the grime, exploitation, poverty, and justice of city life. This is the end of the Victorian age, and it's the world of Vaesen. Vaesen. I'm going to try to remember how to pronounce it. Where are we? Well, we're on the countryside right now in central Britain, just northwest of Birmingham, about 150 miles outside of London. A black carriage pulled by 3 beautiful white horses, is rolling on the road that leads to the coastal village of Bispham, which is right near Blackpool. The rolling hills are emerald green. The sky is a midday blue. The farmlands form a patchwork across this countryside. Inside our carriage, we see these 4 Thursday children. Now, each of you are keeping to yourselves after talking for the first several hours of this day-long trip. I want to start with you, Ian. We can see you in the carriage. How are you dressed?
Quite finely, much like the character picture, just a gentleman, though maybe a bit more for travel specifically. So nothing coat and tails, but still a fine coat, maybe a bit more not rugged, but a bit more tough to stand up to if we have to, I don't know, go for a spirited walk in the countryside. Yes, properly coiffed, and I imagine he is gazing out the window as the countryside passes by.
It does. It rolls by, and we see you, Ian, reach into the inside jacket pocket, and your hand touches a letter. We now flash to the night before. We're in the Society's headquarters in London, the Rose House. It's a stone building of about 3 stories, and it's not too far from the London Wall. It is said that it takes its name from the secret or sub rosa business conducted by Sir Francis Walshington, whose family once owned this house. The present structure was built somewhere between 1666 and 1668, after its predecessor burned down in the Great Fire of 1666. Its interior has changed over time, giving it a somewhat unconventional layout. Stairs lead up from the London streets to the first floor, where the main activity of the house takes place. There, from the lobby, another staircase leads to the central lounge, furnished with sofas and armchairs, and doors that lead to a library and a museum and a dining room. The top floor is devoted to bedrooms, where the 4 of you will often stay when you're visiting the Society. It's evening. The 4 of you have full bellies after eating another lavish meal provided by the butler Hawkins. As you guys were finishing up dinner, he asked you to come to the library after dinner to discuss an urgent letter he received the day before. So we have the 4 of you sitting in the library. It's lined wall to wall, floor to ceiling with all manners of books. And each of you has your own winged chair facing the fireplace. And that's when Hawkins enters. Now, Hawkins is a thin man, but he's short, maybe 5'2". He always dresses in a fine butler tuxedo. He's got a bushy mustache, white. At some point, I'm sure he had a full head of hair, but now we just see the remnants of it along the sides. And there's always a nice shine off the top of his head. He comes in with a tray of drinks, and he comes by to you first, Josh. And in some ways, I think he always likes to serve you first because of the life you've led as a servant. And this is your chance finally to be served. And he hands you a drink. What's he going to hand you?
I think he's going to hand me... Maybe let's keep it simple. He will hand me a pint of beer, actually.
Nice head on the beer. They, as soon as you came to the Society, Hawkins made sure to keep kegs of it in the basement. As soon as he found out that that was your drink of choice, he gives you a bit of a nod and comes over to Anastasia or Anna. Anna, what is he handing you?
He's handing her a glass of tawny port.
Fresh from the wine cellar where we're storing the kegs. He comes over to Oscar, who not nearly as finely dressed as everybody else, but Oscar, I think you always do the best you can, right? And of the 4 of you, I'm imagining you probably spend more time than anybody here at the house, because I would imagine it's been a bit of a refuge from the hard times you've been living. Oscar, what drink is he serving you from the tray?
Black coffee, as thick as you can imagine, just grainy, gets grain stuck or coffee stuck in your teeth. It's definitely the strongest coffee you ever imagined.
You can stand a spoon up in it?
Yep, absolutely.
So he puts it on the very fine teacup, China teacup, hands you with the saucer. We can see the steam coming up. And of all the drinks, it's the smell of that dark coffee that really is now filling the room. Last but not least, Ian, the last drink on the tray is given to you. What is it?
After dinner, nothing for it but a spot of brandy.
He sets the tray down and kind of stands in front of the fireplace, facing the four of you. Good sirs and madames, late yesterday, I received a letter from a family friend. And he hands the letter over to you, Ian. He goes, "So, Ian, if you don't mind reading it, I have a large favor to ask of you."
Certainly, Hawkins. Opens it up. I'm assuming it's already been open since he's read it. Flips it open. Dearest Hawkins, I know it has been too long since I last wrote. Time seems to escape me as I get older. Thank you for the kind note when my mother died. She thought the world of you, not unlike me. I think about the afternoons you would come to the house and bring me sweets if I could guess which pocket you hid them in. The Convent of the Holy Mother is still my home. Bispham is a growing village, and I know we are doing God's work here. Mother Superior Evans does not know I am writing you. I fear for my sisters and believe something sinister has set root in this old convent. It started months ago. Birds would fly into our windows, breaking the glass and then fly off. Sisters started noticing small valuables going missing. Some of the trinkets and jewelry we found days later hiding under a rug or in a seldom used cabinet. Every day it seems to escalate. I've heard voices and crying, only to get out of bed and find no source. Mother always told me you knew more about the world than what hides and what hides unseen. She told me you now work for a society devoted to studying the unnatural. Can you help? Mother Evans would be enraged if she discovered I asked for outsiders to help. I arranged for an old friend, Professor Stanton, who teaches at Old College in London, to send Mother Evans a request to allow researchers to come and study the architecture of this old building. I'm sharing his address here, and he will expect your visit and can provide you with the cover to come to our aid. Hopefully, you can help. I cannot wait to see you again, but we must not show that we are anything but strangers. In loving service to the Lord, Sister Ruth Carter.
You see, friends, I went and saw the professor yesterday, and I have letters for each of you saying that you are, in fact, researchers from the old college. Obviously, there's something strange going on, and my hope is, of course, I can't go, is that the four of you will.
Well, that will at least make it much easier to show that we are anything but strangers to Sister Ruth Carter, as I've never met her. I don't know of the other three of you, but certainly, Hawkins, you've done so much for us here. How can we do anything but help you in this case?
I suspect this falls well within the umbrella of what we do here at the Society. I've arranged for a carriage. I've arranged for a driver. Yes, I'm sorry, Anna.
Saying especially with those birds, that's a frightful portent.
It can often be so. I wish she was more specific about which birds they were, but she was not. The carriage will be here in the morning, and it's going to take a good part of the day for you to go to the northwest. Bispham is just outside of Blackpool. It is a coastal town, a small village, maybe 1,000 people there. Of course, the convent is by far the most dominating presence of that town. It is, of course, Catholic, but there is thankfully an Anglican church also in the village as well. By all means, in the morning, if there's before you retire tonight and you need something by morning, please let me know. But I will have the driver and the carriage ready, and please keep in touch. You can send a letter or rent a carriage to return you when you return safely. Is there anything that I can do for the four of you before I retire myself?
Hawkins, we could use a map of the convent or something for us to get us know the place better, so we don't have to, let's say, be blind once we arrive. So some materials on that topic would be real helpful.
Of course, Master Josh. I've already arranged to have maps prepared for you. You will find them by your bed on the table. Now, we have no plans or any sense of the interior of this convent. It is a very secretive convent, as Catholics often are. So I was unable to find any type of building plans other than it is enormous.
How old is the convent?
It has never been made very clear, to be perfectly honest for you. I would imagine it has to at least be a century and a half old, based off of the architecture. But honestly, I was unable to find that out either. There's very, very little information about this convent. I know that Sarah's mother was not happy with her becoming a nun and was even less pleased that she was assigned to this convent.
Well, if we don't know much about the convent itself, perhaps we should widen our gaze a bit. I would like, if we have any, to look over any histories or folklore stories of the surrounding area near Bispham. We may be able to put a few things on our own maps to look out for, as it were.
Especially, I would look into topics related to birds, of course. I think that is our first clue.
So what are the things that the players get a chance to do here in Vaesen before they head out for their assignment, their mission, or whatever you want to call it, is they get an opportunity to create an advantage. So this is essentially a way to mechanize prep. Each of them is going to pick an advantage, something that they have done, they've trained for, they've researched, however it may be. And this advantage is something that's going to be present for them the entire multiple sessions we play for this scenario. But what's neat is each session, if they can make the advantage apply to a roll that's happening, they get an extra 2 dice to those rolls. So we have two separate things. We can do some prep here to go for advantage, and we'll start with you, Josh. So give me a sense of what we're trying to do to potentially pick up an advantage.
So maybe I'll lay it out to the table and we can think about it. So I was thinking that Josh would be focusing more on the, let's say, practical parts of the safety. If somebody would jump us there, or maybe it's not even supernatural, so something for defense. So I would say either I'm not sure he would train like boxing or something. That doesn't sound like advantage, but maybe prepare some boxer in his pockets or something to help with the physical defense of the group. Not sure how to make
all
it
right,
into
so how's this for an advantage? Because we obviously needed to be specific, but we also wanted to make it universal enough that you get a chance to use it. Trained for a fight? Does that fit?
I think, yeah, that works well. Trained for a fight.
Okay, great. Let's mark that down as your advantage. How about for Ian? What is Ian going to do for his advantage?
Ian is the talker, and in doing so, one thing you should do if you're going to be talking about a wide variety of things is know about a wide variety of things. So he is, as he said, researching a smattering of what might come up if anybody asks them why they're there beyond, hey, let's see the letters. So he's going to be looking over, if nothing else, things he can say about architecture since we're there for it. But in his mind, that's also going to include, how can we find secret passageways? beyond that, it's going to be bits of interesting stories I've heard of the surrounding area, which could be beneficial for us to just know if we start seeing weird signs of things. So yeah, as far as a thing to call the advantage, well versed in local.
How about Bispham histories?
Yes, there we go.
Perfect. So let's put that down as your advantage. An understanding of Bispham histories. How about Oscar? What is Oscar going to do?
Oscar's gonna, as the conversation's going, he's just gonna put his coffee down, and say, "I'll be back in a little bit," and he's gonna walk out. His goal is to go to the local convent where he's at and put on his worst wares, not his best wares, but his worst wares. And if there's one thing he knows about churches is they have they should have a will to help those in need. And Oscar knows how to put on the vibe of being needy. And so he's going to go down to the local convent and try to understand what it takes to get inside these convents and get accepted and know the lingo and know the maybe the buzzwords that'll get him to the front of the line to get admitted in to maybe get a cup of soup or something like that. And so I think he's going to prepare for gaining access to the convent.
So how about what do you think about this for a phrasing? Research on the inner workings of British convents. You like that?
I like it. I like it.
All right, let's put that in as your advantage. Last but not least, what is Anna going to do?
Anna stands up. Is kind of looking over the plan that Josh is creating. Takes out her cigarette case and lights a cigarillo. And then turns to Ian and says, "If you need me, I'll be in the library." And she goes to the library to specifically research the specific strange happenings that she mentioned in the letter. Of particular note, she is curious about the birds and the trinkets. Voices is something that she is already familiar with, very much so. She thinks that the other two clues are a way to potentially narrow things down, and it's going to be the more vital information. So
how about understanding of the role of birds and mischief in folklore?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's put that as your advantage. Now, all of you have played with me before, and you know, like this is, I am not a fan of you got to come up with everything right now because then I'm going to got you later. So understand as the adventure continues, even though we've just mechanized these advantages, there's other things that, you know, we could say are reasonable, right? That, you know, I think I would have done this, Craig, before we left and so on and so forth. So those are all in your back pocket. We don't have to lock that in. For the sake of getting started, if it's all right with you, I'm going to flash us back to the carriage.
Mm-hmm.
And you've gone an easy hour and a half of just beautiful British countryside. The sun is beginning to set. It's early evening. There's still light, but you maybe only have another 30 or 40 minutes of light. The good news is you're starting to see farms and cottages. And you're starting to smell the sea. This is telling you are getting much closer to this coastal fishing town. The hills get a little bit more treacherous as you approach. And you look off to the north, and the first thing that you notice is the peaks of a huge structure. It's easily a good 4 or 5 miles away, but the fact that you can see the tops of this convent from here gives you a sense of the size of this place. We see the carriage pull into town. Now, Bispham is a late 19th century village. Everything is made of stone. There's some thatched roofs. There's some roofs that have been industrialized, actually have roofs that are not made of hay. And you can tell as you get closer and closer to the center of town, it gets older and older. But you also see more and more buildings that have been built on top of other things with more modern sensibilities and more modern structures. In fact, the carriage stops in a building that's about 3 stories tall, and next to the church that you passed may be the tallest structure that you've seen in Bispham. From the carriage, you can see what essentially is the roads that spiderweb out from the center of Bispham. You see chickens just running around, children, dogs. And the building you pull up to has a prominent wooden sign that says the Dusty Sparrow Inn. And it's been whitewashed. So the stones are not natural anymore. They've been painted a whitewash white. And there's a large wooden door. Now the driver, who has not spoken a word to you, steps out, opens the carriage's doors, and somehow your bags are already there, waiting for you to exit. Hawkins has arranged full rooms here at the Dusty Sparrow. And he hops right back into the front of the carriage.
So our things are on the ground, our bags and belongings. Okay. Josh will pick all of our bags in his hands. He's quite a big guy, strong fella. So he will he's used to this. He doesn't think about it. He just picks them up and goes to the inn.
Rest of you follow?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So you guys enter, and you realize just how old this inn is. So obviously the innkeeper has tried to upgrade the exterior, but as soon as you come to the interior, you see a very traditional, almost medieval styled inn. The tables are all made of wood, and they're small, and the benches around the tables are low. You can see a few locals who turn ahead as you walk in and then turn right back to their conversations or their card games as they're playing. There's exposed beams above you and structural beams holding up the roof. And in the far back, you see a man. He's in a teal apron, but a red coat, jacket, and tie under it. He's got a round face, heavy set, and is doing his best to hide the fact that he's been losing hair for about 7 years now. So it's very creative what's happening up here. But the only person he's fooling is himself in the mirror that morning. And he kind of gives a wave as you enter.
So I approach him with my bag still in hand. Evening, good sir. My name is Josh Blake. I believe we should have arranged rooms for the 4 of us.
Oh, he grabs your arm and sets the bags down, just give you this huge hearty handshake. He goes, you must be part of the Hawkins party.
Yes, you could say that we are the part of the Hawkins.
Your patron Hawkins, please tell him how much I appreciate him paying in advance, and I assume he didn't misunderstand the race, but it was very generous. I've secured your rooms. You have the best rooms here. Is there anything that I can do for you? I fear, being Londoners, that you're very used to far fancier places than my small inn here. Oh, my lord, my name, Don Gaither. I have owned the Rusty Sparrow for a very long time. We of course will have the bags brought up to you. Are you hungry? He's just this nervous energy.
Don, you said is your name, right?
Don Gaither, yes, sir. And he goes to shake your hand again because apparently, if he's saying his name, he needs to shake your hand.
Okay, so if you would be so nice, just show us to our rooms and get the meal ready for us. We are hungry after our way, and we will return and dine in this fine establishment and look around that you have here.
What we have venison stew, and I hope that's okay.
Venison stew is okay.
It's perfect.
That sounds delightful, in fact. Ian, as he's coming in, strolling in after Josh, is definitely putting on the look of, yes, we're here for architecture research and maybe a little history. Just, this is delightful. I've loved what you've done with the place to freshen it up, but also give it a bit of the old atmosphere. It seems very homey. At some point, we're here for the convent to research that, but at some point, I would love to hear more about the history of your building here.
Oh, I could tell you, it is one of the sturdiest buildings here in Bispham. And he goes over to one of the structures, right? One of the beams that's holding it up, and he knocks at it to show you just how hey, Bagel Cat, thanks for the raid, to knocks on the thing to show you just how sturdy it is, and you just see splinters start to come off of it as he knocks it, and he stops immediately, goes, oh, it's very the upstairs you'll find is also very, 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 very stern as well, but please, yeah, let's go. And he's trying to, like, without invading your space, kind of take the bags from you. I don't know whether you're going to allow that to happen or not, but he's I can help you with those. What can I do?
I can take care of it. Don't worry about it, Don.
Very good. It is very rare that people bring their own servants here to the Dusty Sparrow. This is wonderful. And he asks you to follow him upstairs. He takes you to each of your own rooms, gives you each a key.
You say that this is one of the oldest buildings here. I'm curious, how old? What year was it?
Oh, it's been in my family for at least 2 generations, so I would imagine this has got to be at least 100 years old. Would be my guess. To be honest with you, the origins of this of our little village here is often in dispute. We don't have the scholars that you have there in London, so I don't have everything well documented. It's just tales told and handed down over time.
I would love to hear some of these tales.
But I would love to tell them to you over some venison stew, if that would be.
That would be delightful. Thank you.
He steps away.
So as I enter the room, the first thing, when I look out of the window, what do I see? Do we have the view to the Convent? Do I see just the main square or something else?
So the first thing you notice is that this place probably is pretty old, based on what old Don was saying, partially because people must have been shorter when this was built, because the ceiling is just uncomfortably low. And you're not going to hit your head, but it's like when you go under a helicopter, you just always feel like at any moment, you're going to hit your head. And you go to the window, and the glass is not a nice clear glass. It's an old foggy glass, and you push the window open and you look out over the village. Now you are now on the 3rd floor of this inn, so you get really a hell of a view. You can see the spider webs of the dirt roads that comes from the center. You can see off to your right, maybe 4 blocks or so down. You can see the spire of the church that was mentioned. To the left, you can see the sea and the docks. You can see a very large cargo vessel there. So this is obviously some sort of a port town. But without a question, to the far, far right, to the north of where you are right now, you can begin to see about half of the top of the convent. And you would venture to guess that it has to be close to almost like 4/10 of a mile long, based off of the spires that are there. And it appears from where you are to have a bit of a Gothic look to it, but it's really hard to tell because you see the road that leads out of town and then winds and becomes not visible, but obviously would wind through these hills to go up these hills to where this convent is.
Josh, would you be the dear and ask Dawn to bring us some salt, please?
Salt? What do you need it for?
Our protection.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'll go to ask Don for some salt.
So you come down, you can see Don holding court at a table. Everybody's laughing, and he obviously is enjoying being the center of attention. And he notices one of the people that he's talking to kind of looks around Don, which is no small effort, and sees you coming down the steps. And he, thanks for the sub, Sonic. He notices it, turns around, oh no, and he comes around. He goes, I'm sorry, I got distracted. I haven't even put together the meals yet. It will take just a few more minutes. Are the rest coming? What?
Don't worry, Don. You have a nice place here upstairs. We like what you did with the place. Don, why are you so nervous? Is something?
I'm very. It's very not often that we have people as important as the four of you obviously are coming from London to stay here. This is a very, very big deal for us.
I see. You don't have to worry. We are just normal people. We are here to do some research and look over at your nice village you have over here. However, I have one request before we return for the venison here to dine with you. I would like to ask you if I could grab some salt and bring it to my room, if that's okay with you.
I can assure you that the stew is seasoned. I don't know if you may need to add some salt, possibly. But many of us feel that it can be a little too salty. Of course, if I've cooked it too long. I'm not quite sure. Are you eating upstairs? Should I bring the food upstairs? I'm confused.
No, not really. It's and I will look around to like pretend that I don't want people to hear this. We have this strange rash, and we need to use the salt.
No. Understood. Yeah, I'll be. And he runs off, goes in behind a door, comes back out, and he's got like a little wooden salt cellar, right? It's got a little top on it, and he opens it up, and he's now spy master just like you, right? So he looks around and he goes, should this be enough? And you see the salt kind of like falling as his hand is shaking.
Thanks, Don. You're great. This is exactly what I need. Just don't tell people. It's
and your patron Hawkins has more than covered the cost of this. So please. And if you need more, just tell me.
Yeah, and we'll be right back for the meal. And
I will have it ready. I will have it, and he takes off.
He's gonna think that's for Oscar. That's not fair.
So you take the salt upstairs, Josh.
Yeah. Sorry, headset.
That's all
right. So I bring it to Anna. Here we go.
Thank you, darling. She'll turn to Ian. Say, if you don't mind, I would like to know about where we're staying. Especially given how old this particular building is. And there's something in that letter that had me concerned. Specifically, Hawkins mentioning that the mother was upset that she joined the convent. She'll touch one of the beams and say, "This place is very old. I want to be sure that we are as safe as possible. With your permission."
By all means. And he would go into a bit of the information he read the night before. I imagine based on not only what was said previously about the church being pretty secretive, but with what Don just mentioned of there's a lot of old stories, but very few documents about the area. I imagine most of what I've read is pretty general. So that won't take long to cover. And following that, Ian would say, well, if I need to get more than that, it sounds like I will need to listen in on a few of the stories downstairs. I will take my stew down there, and along with a bit of local color, and report back once you've seasoned the rooms a bit.
Very well. Oscar, would you be a dear and stay here in case anything happens with me?
Absolutely. That's perfectly fine, Anna.
You boys get some dinner. We'll be down shortly.
Okay, off we go then.
All right, we see the two of them leave. We have now just Oscar and Anna in Anna's room.
Anna will take out her dagger and hand it to Oscar and says, I don't expect that you'll need this, but just in case, you know. And she gives a kind of a sad smile.
If you insist, Anna, I don't know what this is for, but that's fine. I'll figure it out when I need to.
Make yourself comfortable. And she will take the salt and start making a circle around her in the middle of the floor. Is there a carpet on the floor or a rug or anything like that? Okay, so it is just the straight old wooden floor. Okay, great. And she will then take out a candle from her bag. The candle is actually made out of a black wax. And she will take her matchbook. She'll strike a match, light it, and then also soften the bottom, take out her crystal ball and a silk cloth, lays the silk cloth out, places the crystal ball in the center, the candle on top, softened, and then she is going to begin a seance.
All right, so this is actually your talent, if I remember correctly, right? So can we let the audience know exactly what that talent is?
Yes, that talent is medium, and the description is that she can use the observation skill to to perform seances, where she can do a variety of things, predict people's futures or contact the dead. Extra successes provide more information, prolong the contact, or cause spirits to materialize. On failure, she is given either inaccurate information, attacked, or suffer a condition, or whatever other interesting complication Craig decides upon. So,
all right. So we're going to do our first roll. We're going to do an observation roll. So I'm going to quickly bring up Anna's sheet so that everybody here on the stream can see it. And we'll talk a little bit about the mechanics very, very quickly. You'll notice that each of these characters have four main attributes. So physique, precision, logic, and empathy. And under each one of them, there are three skills. So for example, Anna here, we have observation of 1 and an empathy of 4. So by combining those, we know Anna is going to be actually rolling 5 dice. Now, this is built off of the Year Zero engine, which is very common among the Free League games. It's very simple. It's a dice pool system. Every 6 is a success. Anything special we want to do, or are we just doing a straight observation?
She specifically is trying to get an idea of how old. So even if whether she contacts a spirit with a building like this, and given her experience as a medium, buildings as old as this have a history, and many of them that are less scathed by the modernity of what England is becoming, or Britain is becoming. So she's looking for more clues about the folklore, but through sources that we are less likely to get via just conversation and rumor. But most importantly, she's trying to actually ensure that we're staying in a place that is actually safe.
Beautiful. Let's give it a roll. Should be able to just click on observation. All right. So we see rolled 5 dice. We see that we rolled 0 6s. Now here's another mechanic in the game. Anna has the ability to push this roll, which means narratively, Robert's going to have to explain to me, well, in the face of this not going as well as she hoped, what does she do different to hopefully extend herself some more? Then she gets to re-roll any die that did not roll a 6. In this case, he'll be able to roll all 5 of them. But he also will automatically give Anna a condition. In this case, it'll be a mental condition. As soon as Anna gets her 4th mental condition, she is broken, takes a critical injury, which potentially could kill her. So the question for Robert is Anna going to push this?
Anna is not going to push this.
So I'm imagining you sitting in the center of this circle. The candles are lit. Oscar, you're watching as she begins to close her eyes. When she's conducting a seance and someone's watching this happen, can you give me a sense of what that person might see?
They would see her sitting on her knees in the center of the circle. And she would first be putting her hands over the flame for the warmth, and then bring both hands into the flame, burning herself just slightly and covering her eyes. And then she would start speaking words that most would not understand unless they were Irish traveler or Romani, because it'd be a mixture of both Gaelic and Romani. Words passed down from her family. And if there was, even with something like this where it's close but not quite, odd little things happen in the room. The temperature drops a little bit. There's a breeze despite the fact that there is no window open. So the light will flicker a little bit. Is this Oscar's first time seeing Anna do this?
Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. It's his first time, and he's kind of freaked out about it. He's probably standing up on the chair, kind of oddly looking at what the hell's going on, but he knows you enough to trust what's going on and just kind of lets it unfold and just observes.
So she will, so just as that breeze kind of comes in and starts to make Oscar feel uncomfortable, almost at the peak of Oscar probably thinking, oh gosh, what's going to happen next? It all dies down. The temperature returns to normal. The breeze goes away. And the flame goes completely out. And Anna opens up her eyes and says, fuck.
So I want to talk about what Anna does see before she opens her eyes again.
All right.
Things get cloudy. You are somehow in an empty space. Total darkness. Yet somehow you can see your hands and you can see yourself, though there's no light source whatsoever. And it's in this darkness that often you'll make a connection. You'll see potential futures. You'll meet people or see things from the distant past. But what ends up happening is growing from the ground around you are gravestones. And they begin rising, surrounding you, trapping you. And they're enlarged. And every time you look to a gravestone, you can see for a split second the engravings, but as you start to try to read them, they immediately fade away. And as they start to encroach to crush you, is when smartly you open your eyes.
Fuck, bloody hell. Oscar, thank you. I'm sorry if I startled you.
Otto, what was that? What did I just witness?
My poor attempt at magic of a sort.
Can I keep the knife?
If you find me a gun.
Here's your knife back.
She says, here's the thing. I have a little bit of a deeper sight than the rest of you, if that makes any kind of sense. While we are all capable in our little society, I can be a little bit more proactive, especially when it's communing with spirits or the dead. Or the future, for what it's worth. It's the reason why Ian brings me to all of his society parties.
Anna, that's fascinating. I must know more. Please, when we have time, let's. I have more to ask. I would like to know what you know, or at least dabble a little bit, because that is just fascinating.
Of course, it is dangerous at times, which is why I gave you the knife.
I want us to cut to Ian and Josh going down 2 flights of stairs and landing on the first floor. Where you saw Don holding court is now a cleared table with 4 large wooden bowls with wooden spoons next to them, and you can see wooden plates are laid on top of each of the bowls, where I would assume to keep the food warm. Oddly, he has put a tremendous amount of salt cellars on the table itself. And, when you saw Josh, when you went down, Josh, and you looked in and to ask for the salt cellar, and you noticed, the group of locals that he was holding court with, all of those people are still in the inn, but they have been displaced. They are no longer at that table. They've been spread around and told, obviously Don has cleared the way for the 2 of you. And he comes up, I have your table. I have your table ready, of course. And he's trying to be like professional. He seems to kind of sucking that round gut in under the apron. And as he's trying to he doesn't know how to formally escort you, or he's having a hard time.
Oh, thank you, Don. It smells amazing. I guess.
The young woman and the old man, are they? Should I put their stew back? Will they be later?
Put it back for the moment. Yeah, they will be down in a moment. They had another matter to attend to. But in the meantime, with our dinner, I would be delighted to take this opportunity and hear either from yourself or whoever is nearby. I would like to hear tales of the history of this town. Because as researchers, there's only so far back we can go in the written word. I would love if someone here could tell me the oldest stories of the town or the area that they could.
Of course. Father Healy. Father Healy is here. I'll have Father Healy come over and yes, and he escorts you, pulls up the 2 plates, and you see him walk over. And like an Irish pub, there's separate rooms, right? So he, people are saying, you see him kind of vanish. He comes around, and with him is a man that maybe is in mid to late 60s, in a collar. He's got white mutton chops, cleanly shaved on the chin and on the on no mustache. Really out of control eyebrow situation.
Yes.
And he has obviously done something to kind of slick the hair back a little bit. And he, considering his age, seems surprisingly healthy. The way he moves about like a man maybe 20 years his junior. Don brings him over. He goes, Father Healy, these are the two of the researchers from the University College at London. They are here to study the convent of the and they want stories about the area, and of course, I think if anybody here is sober enough to be able to have these conversations and know things well enough at this time, I think it might. Of course, yeah. Thank you, Don. He puts his hand out and he goes, Father Healy.
Ian Blackburn. Nice to make your acquaintance, sir.
It's a pleasure. And your friend?
I'm Josh Blake. Nice to meet you, sir.
Pleasure, Josh Blake. Are you Christian? Or are you Catholic?
That is a complicated question, I'm afraid. I was raised Christian, and I'm intrigued with Catholicism, but I've not been baptized, you see.
Even in the Anglican Church?
Now,
you've not had an Episcopal baptism?
Now that is another story. Pardon me. I presumed you meant the Roman Catholics. 1,000 pardons.
That's my question, sir. Are you Christian or are you Catholic?
In the Anglican Church, yes.
Wonderful. Don, if you don't mind, this stew smells amazing. I would love some as well. Don steps away. He sits down. So, you have questions?
Yes, as I was telling Don, we are here for researching. Mainly, the convent is our most direct goal. But as a learned man yourself, you know that very few times do you, by looking at one portrait, get the idea of an entire artist's body of work. So I always make a point whenever we are researching one specific thing in an area to get more of an idea about the area itself. And as while architecture is more our purview, I often find that history drives a bit of architecture information.
Of course.
And so I always like to hear the oldest stories of wherever we are traveling.
Without a roll, you mentioning the convent caused a bit of a physical and facial change and an expression in him. And I think I would like a roll from you for you to see how much did he give away. And I'm thinking vigilance.
Okay.
So can you give me a vigilance roll?
Assisting to this, does it make sense even in this? Like, he's maybe focused on the discussion with Ian, and I spend the time like pretending to enjoy the soup or the stew, and more focused on his body language to observe. So
are you saying maybe Josh is the one that would notice, and Josh should take the role, or are you thinking about it as an assist?
That's what I'm thinking. That Josh maybe should make the role. I don't know what are the numbers, but from the story perspective,
I'm good with that. I would think whoever's making the role, the other one's getting some kind of assist from them.
I agree. So whoever's making the role, I want to give a bonus die for the assistance. So let's go ahead and let Josh do a roll here, and let's see if Josh can kind of suss out Father Healy's reaction to the mention of the convent.
Vigilance, you said, right?
Yeah.
And is there a way I do some kind of bonus?
Yep. So when you click on Vigilance, this should pop up and give you the opportunity. And by the way, we're using the official Free League module for Foundry. That's how we're doing our die rolls and our character sheets. I think it's ridiculous. It's like less than like $12, and it's amazing. It's got the entire book in there. It's got everything's like built and ready to go. So if you have never used Foundry before, it's our favorite VTT here on the third floor. And Free League has put out just amazing material for it. For all their games.
For Vigilance, my logic is 3, Vigilance 2, that totals to 5, and I will add 1 to bonus dice.
Yep. So let's see. Can we get a success out of 6 dice? We can.
Nice.
Now, Josh, I will tell you that more successes will lead to more information. You have the opportunity to push this. You would keep that 6. You would roll the 5 other dice again, and you would pick up a condition.
This is interesting enough. So I would go for pushing this.
All right. Let's go ahead and push it.
So I press the push button, I guess.
Yeah.
It rolls just those that failed.
All right. So no additional successes, but you still do have the one success. I want you to pick up the mental condition frightened.
Mm-hmm. So I checked it. Yeah.
Okay. Here's what you got for your success, which I think leads to this frightened. Obviously, he's Episcopal priest, right? And the angelic. I always have a hard time pronouncing it. The Episcopal Church, Anglican. That's what I'm trying to do. The Anglican Church. So you would expect him not to be a huge fan of the convent, being a Catholic convent, right? So, but you could tell immediately that he not only distrusts this, but the mentioning of the convent, you saw the fear in his eyes. You saw a dilation in his eyes. You saw him shifting, looking elsewhere at the mention of the convent. You saw him soon afterwards, and we'll hear it in the role play, really want to know more from Ian about why the convent. So you mentioned the convent.
Yes.
And that's why you're here to...
Yes, the college... I didn't get all of the information, but essentially someone higher up interested in more research in this area in general, and specifically about the convent itself. The Catholic Church, being very private about their inner workings as such, does not allow for much information outside of their circles, as I'm sure you're aware. And we're not here to learn deep dark secrets about them, but we want to know more about why a relatively small town such as this has such a large convent from the time that that it was built in the town, and see what interesting architectural purposes this may lead to or have come from.
He begins to answer you, but I want a manipulation roll.
Okay.
I want to see just how much tea is our father going to spill.
All righty, daddy. Here we go.
Ooh.
Looks like a good bit of tea. Push.
No, I'll
You're
stick
good?
with the 2. I'm good with 2.
Two's a lot of tea. I'm going to give you the first success. He says, well, I think there's a few things you should know. One, this entire village is Anglican. There's not a single Catholic in this town that does not live in that convent. You've seen the size of the building.
Mhm.
They have no tithes coming from this town. Yet, we wonder, where do they get the money? So let me start by saying, out-of-towners are common here. Visitors to the convent can be common here. What is uncommon is that you're not royalty, and I assume you're not dropping the young lady off
No.
a spiritual vacation, is what I think they call it.
No, she has her own manner of spirituality, which I will let her tell of. It is not my place to speak.
So, and I don't know how long you plan on being here, but one thing that is very, very common is for us to see those of royal blood from all over Europe will often bring their young princesses here for a stay, anywhere from 6 to 10 months, for a nice spiritual retreat, and then they're off. Let's go to break. So he kind of gauges your reaction to that, Ian. I'm curious to know, do you have a reaction to that?
It would be understated. Like, he's not going to go, oh, you don't say. My lord, man. He's not doing anything like that, but he's there will be a knowing, intriguing.
So that was your first success. Let's give you a second success. Now, of course, it's not clear the funding of this convent, though I will tell you that since Mother Superior Evans has taken over, she has been running that convent now for coming on half a century at this point. There has been expansions. I would say that the convent is easily twice the size as when I first took the cloth and took over the church here of St. William. And of course, there's rumors, there's discussions, but people will stay clear of the nuns. They will stay clear, especially of the Mother Superior.
Intriguing. I suppose the nuns in the convent shop anything in the village, or is that all trucked in by the church?
So both. There are times when we'll see some of the nuns come into town, sometimes even here to the tavern, and as if by cue, we see the front door of the tavern open, and in walks a short, portly woman in a very elaborate habit. She has got large, thick, round glasses. She carries a cane. Next to her is a younger nun in a less elaborate habit. And silence falls in the Dusty Sparrow. And you see Don reacting. I mean, you thought he overreacted to you guys. Mm-hmm. Don rushes to the front of the inn to meet them as we see Anastasia and Oscar coming down the steps. Speaking of the devil, I must be going.
I appreciate your time, Father. We will be here for some time. If you have any other stories of old in the town, I would love to hear them at some point. But when you have time,
come by the church. So you can't tell what Don is talking about. You can't hear the conversation. But as soon as the conversation begins to wrap, we see Anastasia and Josh get to the table. We see Don vanish back into the kitchen, the same place, Josh, that he left to go get the salt.
Okay.
The woman standing there, and at this point, you can only assume that could possibly be Mother Superior Evans. Standing there, she seems impatient and locking eyes with anybody who is looking at her. So see some of the locals look at her and she just immediately stares at them, and immediately you see heads turn. She obviously has quite a powerful presence and has really just taken over the tavern. Conversations have halted.
Soup. Just soup.
So Don comes out and he's got kind of a large burlap sack, easily almost half the size of him. And he comes out and he comes by the table and he sees Anna and Josh. He goes, I'll be just a minute. I've got your venison in the back. I'll be right back.
Anna will place a hand gently on his forearm and say, "Take your time, old Don."
Thank you. And he goes and he gives this large burlap sack to the young nun that is with Superior Evans. And
Josh, maybe if I can jump in, as Josh is seeing this happening, and the gentleman he stands up from the table, approaches the ladies. Excuse me, I see that you have a big package that was handed to you by our friend Don. My name is Josh Blake, and do you need any help? I could help you to carry this back to the convent, maybe, or...
And are we addressing the younger woman or...
I presume the younger woman was
Okay.
receiving the bag,
Yes.
so I will...
Yes, and
I
she
will be
has it, and
addressing her.
she's not carrying it. You can see that looks like she's gonna drag it, and she goes, "Well, that is very kind of you. Are you new to town? I am Sister Nola." And you see Mother Superior shoot her a look and come back. She goes, but I appreciate the offer. But no. They're just linens, and I'm fine carrying it. What brings you to town?
We and our friends here, we arrived here to mainly... we are here to study the architecture. Sorry, I just blanked out.
You're the researchers.
We are the researchers, exactly.
And the older woman just exhales in disgust. Oh, so and now we were not anticipating seeing you till tomorrow. You were coming for tea?
Yeah, we arrived a bit early to just get accommodated here in this tavern, and well, I've just seen you approach here carrying that heavy bag, so I was thinking that I could offer my services.
And son, that is very, very kind of you. Very kind. I can handle it. I do appreciate it. We have a carriage outside that will take us back to the Holy Mother. But please, when you get to the convent tomorrow at tea, just make sure that they let me know, Sister Nola, and I will, of course, bring you in, and we can discuss how much access we can give you to the convent for your research.
Or okay, maybe just if you let me carry it to the carriage for you, so you don't have to drag it on the ground, and we will.
And she looks at the older woman, and the older woman just kind of gives like a half shrug, and she turns around and leaves, and she goes, I guess that would be okay. And she kind of hands the burlap sack over to you.
Do as I said. I will follow them to the carriage, and maybe in the once I will be putting it on the carriage, I will try to look around for anything interesting that I might notice.
Yeah. So how about a little observation roll, investigation? Let's do some investigation.
Brilliant.
Actually,
So investigation.
No, observation. Yeah. Observation. Sorry.
Yeah, observation, much better. So observation, I have empathy 2 and observation. Total base pool of 6, but I should have -1 from the frightened that I received.
That's correct. So because of your condition, you are at a -1 to all rolls.
For I believe for the mental.
Correct.
Category.
Yeah, I'm sorry. For anything that falls under
which is logic, empathy.
Yeah, you're right, because it's a mental condition. Good call.
Let's see. Oh, God damn it. I will not push this.
Okay. So you're carrying it out. There's a couple things that you see. Another young woman in a simple habit helps our Mother Evans get into this carriage. It's a nice carriage. Black lacquer, can't be a year old. The other thing that I think you notice, even with a failed roll, is she mentions linens. The burlap sack is tied to the top, but looking down, you can see white linens, maybe folded up, and based on the weight and things, that seems like clean laundry, potentially. And you load it onto the back of the bag, back of the carriage, and single black horse turns around and takes them off. You're outside.
Exhale hard, and I return inside and continue to finish my meal.
So your bowl is there for you. Anastasia, you have your bowl. Donna's brought it to you. Is this enough salt?
Oh, plenty. And she takes the salt bowl that he had previously given, and she says, "Thank you very much for providing. If I need any more, may I request in the future?"
Yes, and would you want to see the midwife about the rash?
Oh, it's not for me. It's for, and she eyes towards Oscar.
Oscar's looking up, just scratching his neck.
And I don't want to be indelicate, but is this salt safe to?
Oh, this salt I've not touched. I've already used some. Yes.
Wonderful. Can I get you water, ale?
Do you have any wine?
I do not. I have no wine. No wine. I believe Father Healy keeps some at the church, but I don't know if that is for sharing necessarily. Maybe for the service.
A pint will be fine.
For four?
Yes, please.
Don takes off to the kitchen. Conversations are starting to come up again inside the tavern.
Mm-hmm. Once Don little chit chat, general, how are we settling in? Once Don comes back and has left us alone, Ian, between he may not have noticed specifically the fright on the father's face, though I imagine Josh will mention that. But he knows Josh well enough to know that he's shaken. Probably noticed the same thing with Anna. Like something's a bit off. Not necessarily like that you have a condition, but that we'll have a chance to talk about that. But he would want to do the thing he can generally do pretty well and talk, specifically to try and inspire Josh to not be so frightened.
Gotcha. So I think technically for healing, you actually need an ability. In the same way you need medicine, you need inspiration. Let me just take a quick look here. Yeah, I think you have to have a talent. I'm going to have to double check that.
Okay. I'm looking at the inspiration skill, and it just says use the inspiration.
Oh, it does? Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. And you have inspiration.
I think
Great.
medicine is said like simple bandages are required for medicine, but in general
Gotcha.
you use this.
Nothing for. All right, so let's do an inspiration roll.
Cool.
Well, I'll tell you what, you guys are saving those successes.
Yeah, we are.
Are we going to
will
push?
be hot for the critical part.
You know what? Yeah, I would push on that. Like that's Ian knows. Like I'm really good at talking, but Josh is really good at being where he needs to be. And I would rather I become frightened and have this be the thing on my mind than he has to worry about it, since he's going to be in front of whatever it is more often than not.
Got it.
So let's push this. There we go.
You got your success. So Josh, let's go ahead and remove your frightened. And we're gonna see how Roman role plays this. Roman, you're gonna be picking up angry.
Ooh, okay.
So how do we get rid of this, and why are you angry when it's done?
I'm feeling like Ian is going to be talking about, there's little reason to be frightened of a nun and a priest of different religions. We've all seen far worse. There may be something else here, and we can't get bogged down in this one little religious tiff or misunderstanding of something that we're not involved in directly. But we should keep our eyes and wits about us in order to do this. And I feel like the angry comes up. Oh, I know how the angry comes up. It's a memory involved with his trauma, which I don't mind sharing with the viewers. He watched his mother waste away from a Vaesen that he developed the sight seeing it kind of hang on her and wither her over several years. And of course, at this time, like, that's going to involve not just doctors, but bringing in like priests for, clearly you've done something wrong for this wasting disease to hit you. Which, given the nature of Vaesen, might be the case, but not in the way that they're meaning it. And so he definitely, the more he's thinking about this, it's like, I've already had a childhood covered in dealing with the bureaucratic nonsense and judgmental BS of one religion. Now we're in a town where I'm juggling two. I'm going to need something stronger than this ale, and I want to get out of here fast.
So as Josh is listening to the inspiration speech that happened before this, he was basically listening to Ian and just downing the pint fully. And once he heard the what just Ian mentioned, he's like, "Don't worry, friend. We will deal with this matter tomorrow, and we will see what we can do about it." And I will just wave onto Dawn to and do you have something stronger for us? Maybe something to get us, better sleep today.
Mm-hmm. And I should clarify. Ian's not going to mention his mother out loud. That is not a subject he brings up often. But with at least
I see
Anna
some kind of
and
distress.
Josh, like you would know enough and hear me have talked about it before to know what's up. I don't know yet if Oscar has heard that story or not.
So Don, you say something stronger. He kind of pauses a little bit and he goes, "I'll have something up in your room for you, and it is covered. It's covered. You've more than paid for access. Of course. Yeah. Of course.
Very much appreciated, Don.
Anything we want to do as we wrap up the evening?"
Yeah. Oscar, when all things are settled, he flags Dawn over and kind of brings him in and said, Dawn, are you a pet-friendly inn?
Yes, I guess are you, what type of pet are we talking about?
He ignores the question. He goes, "Oh, thank God!" And he has this satchel he's been carrying around this entire time. Brings it in the front and lifts the pouch up in the front, and a little dog jumps out.
Okay.
I'm gonna need another bowl of stew, please.
Yes, but could we keep him leashed? Do you have a way to he's such a cute puppy. Like what's the dog's name?
Charlie.
Charlie just immediately starts licking Don's hand. Don thinks it's because Charlie's a friendly dog. Charlie knows that he still has stew on his hands, so we see, and he goes, no, of course, I'll happily bring him. I'll happily bring him some stew. But if we could keep him leashed or in the sack, would that be unreasonable?
Don, I'm not an animal, and he just turns away.
Okay. Anything else we want to do this evening?
I want to know what kind of dog Charlie is and what Charlie looks like.
He's a beagle. He's a miniature runt beagle. The spotted brown, white, black look. Older in age, just like Oscar, obviously.
Excellent. So the four of you retire for the evening to your individual rooms. There is grain alcohol, small bottles of grain alcohol in all the rooms, as Don had promised. And
note, I cork it and I put it in my bag. I'm not drinking it.
Okay. So we're going to cut to morning. Now, you are scheduled to go to the convent at 10 a.m. Don makes it clear to you that, come down. He will, of course, have eggs and bread available to you as well as some bacon for breakfast. What I'd like to do is get a sense of what do we want to do before we cut to arriving at the convent?
Would this be between this and sleeping overnight? Would this be an option for a rest scene to heal conditions?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can drop angry.
Cool. I would. Yeah, I feel like after sleeping it overnight, it's definitely closer to the surface than Ian would like to admit. But sleep on it. Return to mission. We got this. We're fine.
I'm good with that.
Cool.
Charlie is an emotional support dog, by the way. Just
is he? Okay, good.
He's a good boy.
What was that, Josh?
I was saying that the moonshine probably helped as well.
All right. Shall we cut to the front of the convent?
I just want to make sure that Ian filled us in on the information he discovered, correct?
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
Great.
Yeah, no, that would definitely happen, and he would remind everyone, okay, let's remember we're here for researching the architecture. I've been driving a historical aspect of that as well, so don't be afraid to kind of follow up with that. But overall, we don't know what's going on, and if we can find let's see, what was it, Sister Carter, we might be able to get more information.
I will pretend to be your assistant, Professor.
Delightful.
I think that will make the nuns a little bit more comfortable.
So long as they don't ask you what your religion is, I believe.
There is that.
You guys, Don arranges for a local farmer to take you guys up to the convent. Now, the convent itself is not but a quarter mile from town, but the road winds for almost a mile to get there, back and forth through the hills. And when you finally get to the actual convent itself, the road leading up to it straightens. There's beautifully manicured topiary on either side of the road. Immaculate. And as you approach, you see peaked roofs, Gothic style stone. You can tell where the original convent was, maybe a third of its current size, and where they've added on both to the left and to the right. They've expanded the wings on either side of it. The farmer takes you to about 200 yards before the convent. They go, "I'm going to need to drop you off here. I'm about as close as I'm going to get."
Oh, okay. Off we go then. Thank you. Whatever is his name, Bill.
Farmer Joe.
Farmer Joe.
Pivotal character in this entire adventure. And Farmer Joe takes off back to town. As the four of you approach, you come up to almost a story tall, huge double wooden door that also goes to a peak. And there's a large rope to the right of it. And if you look up, you can see that the rope's attached to a bell.
I might as well do the honors. She pulls it.
You pull it, and within about a minute and a half, we hear a click, clank, and as this thick door. I mean, the door itself is almost 8 inches thick. Gets pushed open. A woman comes out, obviously a nun in a habit. You can see that all you can see is her face, right? So her forehead is covered, the habit comes down, the neck comes right up to the chin. It's a younger woman. You maybe even as young as like maybe 20, 21. She comes up and she goes,
Josh approaches her first.
"Are you the researchers?"
Indeed.
Good morning to you. Yes, we are the researchers. I'm Josh Blake. These are my colleagues, and we were. The arrangement was that we will arrive this morning, and maybe we should ask.
No, that's fine. Is it just the four of you?
Just the four of us. Yes.
Oh, I am. Well, I'm Sister Ruth. I thought I was expecting a professor. There was mention that a professor was coming, and I don't see him.
Professor Hawkins was unavailable to make the journey, but he sent us in his stead personally.
And
This is Professor Blackburn, Professor Blake, Professor Erickson, and I'm Miss Gray.
And she kind of leans into your ear, Ian, and she goes, "Is Hawkins okay?"
Perfectly fine. He regrets
Well,
that he
come
could
in.
not make.
Please come in.
He regrets he couldn't make the journey himself.
So you come into the convent, and this entryway, just your footsteps echo. It's just huge. You see ornate decorations, the furniture, the side tables in this entryway. Anastasia, you've traveled. You can tell that these were all brought in from all over Europe. Different styles. Just this entryway has got to contain more riches than probably the entire town has collectively. So, Mother Superior would like to talk to you in her office.
Excellent. That would be delightful. I believe, Professor Blake, you made inroads with, I believe it was Sister Nola yesterday, who
Yes.
said
Her
Excellent.
assistant,
I would
yes,
imagine
of course,
she
yeah.
will. Excellent.
Yes,
I
of
would imagine
course.
she will be there.
Yes,
And she told us to ask for her.
and she takes you through the convent. You don't see anybody until you get to an office door, which she opens, a large wooden door. Inside there is a ornate desk. Behind it is Sister Nola. She stands up immediately. You can see a second door behind her, and she goes, "Oh, you made it. Wonderful. Yes, Sister Ruth, I have it from here. Thank you." Sister Ruth takes off.
Good morning, Sister Nola. So, as we discussed yesterday, we are here to admire and start our research here on your coven.
And of course, Mother Superior Evans will kind of explain to you, of course, what is possible and what is not possible. I would give you some advice. She is not happy that you're here. This is apparently she is owed a favor to somebody from the college. She is hoping that this will square that favor finally, but I would recommend you don't push your luck.
Understood. Thank you very much. We will be as non-invasive as possible.
So she opens the door. You walk in to this office. It's dark. The windows are all closed. You see the woman you saw last night at the desk. What's unclear is how a desk this size had ever fit through that door. You see her reading. In no way does she acknowledge that you've walked into the room. There are chairs in front of the desk.
Well, loudly to get attention.
She doesn't even look up from the book.
Anna will sit down and pull from her purse a notebook and pen.
I've got Anna sitting down.
I will follow suit then. Josh will sit down as well.
Likewise, once the ladies are seated.
Oscar
As soon
can
as
stay
everybody is
standing,
okay.
just kind of standing behind one of the chairs.
So you see Mother Superior look up, and I'm trying to give you a sense of this woman's face. So she's got these huge, round, thick glasses, and it's just a permanent frown. and it shapes her entire face. That she almost gives you like a bulldog feel with these thick cheeks that have fallen with age. She looks at the three of you sitting, and then she looks up at Oscar and says nothing.
Good morning.
She blinks.
Don't fuck with Maggie Smith, dude. You'll lose.
Awkwardly, Oscar kind of looks at the rest of the group like, what's going on? What do I do?
Professor, sit down. I know you are anxious to be about our work, but before we can begin, there are niceties to be observed, such as thanking the Mother Superior for her wonderful allowance of us to be here, and that involves a discussion of where and what we can look at and cannot, as we are guests in this immaculate place.
She just take her eyes off you, Oscar.
My apologies. I'm so sorry, ma'am. I will have a seat right away. I'm so sorry.
So as soon as you sit, she then turns to you, Ian, and she goes, "That is an accurate representation. How long is this process going to take?"
Well, it's always hard to say. And given the size of your wonderful convent here and the variety of architectural styles, motifs, etc., it could take some time, though we are
intending... What is some time?
Days or weeks, perhaps?
Perhaps.
Depends on how much access you do give us, especially to your archives. If there's anything about the architecture, the establishment or building of it. We're trying to track the history of the place in conjunction with the architecture. It is quite a unique building.
It was made very clear to me that this was to be about the architecture.
Yes.
So I don't know any reason why we need to get into the histories.
Well,
so you can start, please.
If I may.
No, please. You can start on the outside. When you've finished walking around outside, you can come in and get Sister Nola, and we can discuss what will be next. You will not, at any point, be found in a place that I have not directed you towards. You say days and weeks, I say days. I hope we understand.
Crystal clear, Mother Superior.
Who has been baptized? Very well. Sister Nola, they can walk the grounds. They are not to re-enter. Otherwise, from the front door, they will ring the bell. You will attend to them, and then you will bring them back here, and we can discuss what activities they can have for the rest of today. Please mark in the book day 1. And she looks down at her book.
Thank you very much, Mother Superior. We will be on our way. And he stands up.
Okay. And you turn around and you... Go ahead.
Yeah, I will thank you kindly, Mother Evans.
No way is she acknowledging that you're still breathing the same air as her.
It is what it is.
Anna gets up and just leaves.
Okay. And when you guys get up and turn around, you see that Sister Nola is already there at the door. And escorts you out, and she goes, "You understand the restrictions, right?"
For today, unless we are told otherwise later, we are only allowed to be looking at the outside of the building, and we are not to re-enter.
That is correct. That is correct.
Excellent.
We don't want you peering in windows. We don't want you trying doors. You can investigate the grounds.
Understood.
If we're
Thank you very
to
much.
observe the outside, though, you have such remarkable stained glass. Is that all right for us to create sketches? And that is important to our research, is the stained glass, especially part of the Gothic architecture. It's not peering, mind you.
Doing your little drawings is fine. I think you understand the distinction, right?
Yes, I want to make sure that there was no misunderstanding.
Well, let's not create that situation then.
Understood. I wanted to mention, and I did not want to take more of the Mother Superior's time, but as her assistant, there may be a point while we are about our work outside where this would be better delivered or have more time to be delivered by you, who works with her closely. As far as the history, the architecture, visually, the understanding of it is important. But there is a historical element to it, such as, and assuming we're out in the entryway where there's so many different styles here, he'll point out a few things that he researched and mentioned looking over before. For instance, that is from this particular country.
Blah, blah,
That is
blah,
from
yeah.
this. Yeah, and understanding
yes.
why that is here versus there, and why it's next to something that's from an entirely different country where this particular architectural design was developed 100 years later. This is an important thing to understand for what appears to be a conjuncture of multiple different architectural styles from multiple different societies under the church's roof.
Anna, while he's doing this, will be rifling through her manuscript and say, yes, for instance, here where it's very clearly Gothic spires, but that one over there is Baroque. And you have some Tudor elements as well. That the history that we're trying to determine specifically is there's clearly been additions made from the original building.
Yes, we've done some building, but I am not a decision maker here. Have you had this conversation with the mother?
No, we did not have the time to do so without taking more of her very valuable time. It was very clear that she would like this process to be as short as possible. And to cut straight to the point, the best way to shorten our time here, given that we are being limited access to various spaces, would be to have better access to people who can tell us when and, if possible, why these additions were made.
Or documents.
Greatly shorten the amount of time.
All of this is wonderful and fine. Here's my advice.
Mhm.
This is a test from the mother. Let us see how your time is spent today, looking at the exterior. Let us see your ability to follow her directions. I'm sure she's going to want a conversation with you when you leave. I think that is where this conversation needs to happen. My recommendation is to give her a few reasons to say no.
Wonderful. I greatly appreciate your insight into how to waste the least amount of time for the Mother Superior, Sister Nola.
And she walks you out back to the front door. You do catch Sister Ruth peering through a door, but is unseen by Sister Nola. You're taken
Maybe
outside. Yep, please.
I may interject a little bit to interact
course.
with Sister Nola. I will be the last one of the group, and just when the rest of the group is a few 1-2 meters away from us, I will just turn back to her and I will ask, like, pardon me to ask you this, but it seems that the Mother Superior is quite strict, isn't she? Is she this strict with you as well? And I will try to get on her.
Is this to Nola, or are you trying to do this with Ruth?
To Nola.
Okay.
To get on her, let's say, friendly side.
Got it. Let's do a little manipulation roll. Let's see if we can't cozy up to the old Sister Nola.
Manipulation.
Charmer, Josh.
Let's see.
Bitching about the bosses.
She goes, yes, she is always very, very fair. We are doing God's work here. She is leading that. She is in direct contact with the cardinals. Words from her is as close to the Pope as we'll ever see here.
I see. There's a lot of response.
She is strict but kind, much like our Lord. When you guys step out to the front, she explains to you the gardens. That there's gardens off to the far west wing, outside. In the back is the full topiary garden. She makes it clear to you that the cemetery is sacred and is not to be entered, and that she expects you back within 3 hours.
Alrighty.
What are we going to do?
After she departs, I would definitely talk to everyone here and go, well, if this is a test, we best well make sure we pass. I'd imagine I would suggest for the moment we play it straight, take as many sketches and drawings as we can. If we are less artistically inclined, detailed notes. That way, if she wants to discuss anything specifically, we can show what work we've done. Walk the line for now. In fact, stay the hell away from the line as much as possible. At least a good 10-foot pole.
I fully agree. We cannot do anything crazy on the day one of the investigation. Just what I would suggest, let's make what we call few red herrings in the note, that she might have a thing or two to argue about, but nothing too crazy, just to see that we are not too clean and she doesn't dig deeper.
Here's the key thing. In order to get histories, we need to do it under the guise of they're such notorious record keepers. We need architectural plans for each edition.
Mm-hmm.
We also need the actual ledgers with the editions of each edition and the resources used to build this place.
I'm going to have you guys, the four of you, strolling as these conversations are happening. You're walking through the grounds, and Oscar, I'm not getting a sense you're really super involved in these conversations, but I'm having your head more on a swivel, as opposed to the game planning that seems to be happening between Anna, Josh, and Ian. And you notice on a bench that is near, as you begin to turn the corner on the far west wing of here, there's a woman sitting at a bench. She's got her back to you. Maybe about 100 yards or so away. And what really stands out, she's not wearing a habit. What she is wearing is some very, very nice clothes. A beautiful, beautiful dress.
Oscar speaks up. I'm really going to need a second sit down. It's been a lot of walking for an old man. I see a bench over there 100 yards away. I'm going to go have a seat. I'm going to start strolling my way over there. Whether they follow, I don't know, but I'm going to go sit down and have a chat.
Anna will look at the other two and say, I'll keep an eye on him.
How is that staying away from the line?
He wasn't paying attention.
Mhm.
So, Oscar, you start walking towards this woman on the bench. Anna, how are we keeping an eye on Oscar?
She's going to briskly catch up to him and then just take him by the arm as if he's escorting her while walking, and she's got the journal out. She says, "Remember, we need to be discreet, just chit-chat, and then move on."
Very well, Anna.
So as you get closer, you're getting a better look at the back. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So is Charlie there with us? I didn't realize. Or do you have him in?
Oh, he's still in my bag. Yeah, I got the satchel.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So as you get about 50 yards to this woman, and as you get closer, you get a much better view of her. You can see that her black hair is in kind of a very elaborate but thick braid that goes to about the middle of her back, and there's ribbon that is woven into the braid itself, and that's what ends up tying the braid at the very, very end. And very difficult to get a sense of her age or anything, because you can only see the back of her, and her head is down. And as you're approaching, you see she must have been reading. So she sets a book on the bench and she stands with her back still to you. You're at about 40 yards away. She turns to walk away. When she turns, you see that she is pregnant. Very, very pregnant. We're going to go to credits and come back on the other side.
Ah!
Welcome back. We finally got our first session of Vaesen. It feels like we've been planning this for 2 years. It's very, very interesting for me for a couple levels. One, for those of you that watch the channel, typically the scenarios that I run start with something published. This is unique. I decided to try something on my own here. So this is actually thanks, McGurk, for the sub. This is something that I've put together. So I'm real anxious to watch you guys start to kind of wrap your head around it, but I'm treating it the same as I would a published scenario. So for those of you that are familiar with my GM style, even when I'm using something published, it's just to get the premise. I want to know who the characters are, who the NPCs are. I want to know what's going on. And then I throw the rest of it away. And that's kind of what we've done here. So I guess I probably want to start with you, Robert. You have been very, very anxious to play this game. Any thoughts from playing it now for 2 hours?
Yeah, I've played Mutant Year Zero engine, and I really enjoy it. But what I like about this setting is the slow burn, and in the way that having read through the book, full disclosure, Craig and I bought the books at the same time. We both got very giddy and excited and chatting about it with like the whole group here, and the thing that I really love is that Craig has nailed with this premise of being able to slow burn, get the character development rolling. And this style of RPG is really, really great for that. Yes, there will be action, right? There will be more. But this is going to be playing a different space while having similar mechanics to, like the Forbidden Lands cast, right? But it's playing in a very different sandbox where, we're dealing with a society that has actual society, right? We're dealing with a lot of norms and a lot of complicated, social structures.
Yeah.
And our characters coming from various structures. Like my character, she's not an atheist, but my character is not a Christian either.
Yeah.
And very much not a Christian. And so there's the mystery setup, I think, is a very great way to establish a lot of this intrigue, right? We didn't roll a lot in this session, right? But what we did do is we established a lot of great character development and a lot of eeriness, right?
So
and displaying that even amongst our characters, right?
Yeah. So real quick, Robert, we'll do two things. One, I want the what the hell does Robert think's going on? Quick discussion, and then we'll do Stars and Wishes, and I'll explain what Stars and Wishes isn't. But let's start off with what the hell is going on here, Robert?
I don't exactly know, which makes me excited, especially compared to Fistful. But yeah, no, I have a couple of working theories. I'm trying to view this more through Anna's lens, though, right? And Anna's going to be naturally distrustful of any institution because they've treated her people like garbage.
Right.
And, Anna knows and probably has actually connected with the beyond more than people who purport spirituality within this, very rigid social structure in Victorian England. I think for Anna, the level of secrecy around this convent is bizarre because most convents that she has experienced, and then out of character knowledge, most convents are actually very open doors, right. Because they are there to serve a community.
Right. That is not happening.
That is not happening here. And the fact that yes, they've mentioned these royals who come, also a little odd, right? That's suggesting that there's the upper echelons of power are hiding something and sensitive information. And it's possible, and Anna's probably even thinking this too, it's possible that there is something, the thing that they're trying to hide, while not innocent, is not Vaesen related. But it's also that those are just two converging things that are happening concurrently. But it's also indeed possible that it's something Vaesen related. So I think for Anna, the biggest thing is I think she's totally clocked that this pregnant woman is a princess who shouldn't be pregnant.
Interesting. All right, Stars and Wishes. So this is from the Gauntlet podcast and the Gauntlet group that where I get this term from, which is a fantastic podcast. That if you've never listened to it, the idea is that each player, not character, each player talks about their stars and wishes. Stars are going to be the moments that really stood out for them in the session, where they felt most immersed, most enjoyed it. They were no longer Robert, it was Anna that was play. So what was a 1 or 2 star moments? And then wishes is, what are you wishing for in the next session or two? So let's start with any star or stars.
So stars, I would say when we were actually in the house, interacting with Hawkins and having the letter read to us, and sort of those character moments, just initial establishment. But where really I think went into overdrive was when we got to the tavern. We had just such great interaction, and I think it was also, the 5 of us were really excited to play in the sandbox together again, right? And and I think something we've all excelled at is the talky bits, especially amongst each other with the characters. So feeling that out, like I loved being able to have Anna pull Oscar into this occultish thing that he's not seen before. I love the dynamic and the relationship between Josh and Ian already. That, it's not just that Josh is this servant. There's definitely much more of a friendship here. That, yes, he was paid, but there's an actual, it's a lot more Alfred, but a young Alfred, and
Interesting.
Bruce going on here, right?
You got
and,
that.
and well, and the thing that I like too is that very clearly Josh is the one who's more skilled.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
He's the one
no
who
question.
has, more of the skills. Ian recognizes that and lets Josh do a lot of the dirty work.
Well, and I can tell you,
and that's why he keeps Anna around too. Spoilers for everybody, but that's why he keeps Anna around, is that he's collected us.
Yeah, I think that's a really neat idea. All right, real quick, wishes. What are you wishing for?
Wishes. I want Anna
as a player.
I want Anna to investigate the cemetery. So
okay. So
so
you're wishing for some cemetery time.
Before you even said that it was off limits, the question that I was going to have Anna ask Nola as we were walking is, we're allowed to peruse the grounds. I would love to see the cemetery.
Yeah.
So that's the big wish.
Vaslav, let's go right. Let's incorporate everything into stars and wishes. So what was star moments for you?
So, of course, what I loved, everybody had that moment where we start to spring our characters in. A little bit of that, a little bit of basically whatever was already said. My favorite moment was Nick and the dog scene. That introduced so much of the character in such a small scene.
Yeah,
it was brilliant. I love that one. And
yeah,
it's what I also see, that if I compare it to the Edge of the Empire we played, the Star Wars game, then the first game is everybody's quite shy. They don't know what to expect from the other players because we didn't know each other. And now we're just, you pull him back into the ritual, you give him the dagger, and we're just a little bit teasing each other. But that brings the players together. But my favorite one was with Charlie in the back.
Wishes.
It's quite straightforward. So I'm hoping that Josh will start to get some more inside info from, what's her name, Nola.
From Miss Nola. Yeah, you've already got a nice little success manipulation roll there. So I think that you'll definitely be able to have that pay off even a little bit more. Any theories about what the hell's going on here?
I'm basing my theory based on the note where birds would fly into our windows, breaking glass, then fly off, and things not in the place they seem to be, usually related to jewelry. So I think that the Convent is owning something to Vaesen, or they are supposed to give the Vaesen some kind of tribute or something. And this other thing with the princesses there and something is a way how to get the money to pay the Vaesen with something. So that's
very interesting.
That's an idea.
Very interesting. All right, Roman, stars and wishes.
So everything everybody has already said of just how well we're already working together, how well seasoning we are the seasoning we are adding of characterization so quickly as we're getting to play together again. I think my two favorite standout moments were the seance, but especially right after it, with Nick as Oscar going, I've never dealt with this before, and not like, instead of freaking out like, oh my God, get away from me, more of, oh my God, I want to know more. Like, I want to see where that leads immediately. That, and then when the Mother Superior came into the inn, the second Vaslav said, I go up and like try to help them out, I was biting my tongue because I was like, I was just about to do that. but I held off a minute because I'm like, hang on. I'm playing the nice, like, talky guy, but I'm essentially playing not royalty, but a silver spoon in the mouth kind of kid. I wouldn't be the one doing that to offer to help. I would go up and say hi and, oh, I'm so impressed with you. But the way he did it was much better. And that speaks to the way we're playing with each other as players, but also characters. And I love that we gelled that quickly.
Well, and now we've got... Go ahead.
Sorry, I think I talked a little bit over you because I was thinking, you're gonna do that, but I still did it anyhow, and I'm glad that you saw that it made sense for you as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
no,
I gotta
perfect.
say, so now we've got two moments where Josh has endeared himself to Miss Nola, and I'm very anxious to see if and how that will pay off. There's definitely some sort of connection being made here. What we don't know is what her deal is, right? So that'll be interesting. How about wishes?
I want to find if there are any what birds specifically are nearby, because that was something that was the type of bird was left out of the letter. Look for any recently broken and repaired windows and see where on the convent those are. And I want to find out if/what was where the new additions, the new wings added onto the convent, what was there? Because that really is ringing in my head of, I bet it's the equivalent of building on an Indian burial ground, right? Like I'm expecting we're doing something to that effect, and that's what's causing whatever the Vaesen issue.
Very interesting. All right, Nick. Stars and wishes.
Anna definitely pulling my character in for that seance was
cool.
awesome. Yeah, like I had like these piddly things I was gonna kind of do because Oscar's kind of like on his own. Like he has a hard time fitting in with people, being a vagrant, and that was awesome for Anna just to be like, no, you're coming here, we're gonna do this, and so I thought that was great. Also, the multiple encounters Vaslav had with his character with Sister Nola is I'm excited just like everyone else to see how that progresses and what happens. Wish-wise, assuming Anna told Oscar about the visions she saw, I definitely want to go investigate that cemetery. If not, which we can discuss later, I want more opportunities to utilize Charlie to help the group because my mind's going crazy trying to figure out how to utilize him. So,
did you
those are
take
my
the
wishes.
pet talent?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm calling it now. The Mother Superior is secretly a dog person. It'll melt her heart.
All right, so we're going to close things out with Nick's what the hell is going on here?
Oh, shit. I really don't have any clue. My thought is they're sacrificing unwanted children to the Vaesen to keep them from coming around. I went way wild left because nobody else did, so.
That escalated quickly.
All right, guys. So Game Store Dropouts, great podcast with Robert and his team, Steam Power Scoundrels. If you're into Malifaux, you can catch up with Roman. Vaslav, where do we find you?
It's the channel is called Discophobia, so it's more a Czech channel review of board games, let's plays, and such.
Excellent. And Nick, what are you plugging?
I'm on all of your stuff, and I love it. Keep on keeping on.
Right, that's great. You guys like, subscribe, you know that whole deal. Listen to the podcast, Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars. Cannot wait to see what the hell is going on here. We'll see you soon. Howdy, friends. Thank you for watching. All our content is archived and organized in playlists on the Third Floor Wars YouTube channel. Check it out. And if you could like, follow, subscribe, and even set your notifications to this channel on YouTube and Twitch, we'd appreciate it, and it'll make sure that you catch all of our content. I talk with creators, designers, and experts across the gaming landscape in every episode of our podcast, Tabletop Talk. Open up your favorite podcatcher and search for Tabletop Talk from Third Floor Wars. Support your creators. They make the content you love, and it's your support that makes it happen. If you want to help us, go to Third Floor Wars on patreon.com, and you can help us for as little as $1 a month. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Take care.